Yeah, this is Scott with tutorialstop.com. This tutorial is going to be covering the Conan O'Brien if Brad Pitt had kids with Angelina Jolie type of effect. And you can see here what I've done. I'm going to go ahead and hide this layer. You can see I've superimposed Angelina Jolie's features on Brad Pitt's face. I'm going to go ahead and hide it. So there's Brad Pitt, Angelina Jolie, Brad Pitt, Angelina Jolie's features mixed onto Brad Pitt's face. And we do that with two simple layers. Let's go ahead and see how to do this effect. Okay, the first thing you need is two images. Here you can see here we have a picture of Brad Pitt, and below that a picture of Angelina Jolie. I want to switch over to my Move tool. Looks like a little black arrow on your tools palette. Click on that, or you can click your V key. It's the shortcut key. All I'm going to do is I'm going to take one picture. Here's the Angelina Jolie picture, and drag it on top of the other. As you can see, it's quite large, and it fills up the entire area. So I'm going to drag it over to the side so I can see its corner and do a Control T or Command T if you're on the Mac. Get on the corner, hold down your Shift key and as you hold down your Shift key, drag that corner handle, and it kind of constrains the image so that the height and proportion, or that the height and the width stay in proportion to each other. I'm not going to shrink it all the way down. I want it to be a little bit larger than the background image because we're not sure how much we need. So again, Control T or Command T, grab the corner handle and shrink it down while holding the Shift key to constrain your height and your width. And then go ahead and hit the Enter key to end the free transform. So here you can see in my layers palette I have the layer 1 which is Angelina Jolie's face, and of course Brad Pitt. So all I'm going to do now is place a layer mask with the Angelina Jolie image. Layer mask, make sure the Angelina Jolie layer is selected, or your top layer is selected. I'm going to come down and click the layer mask. You can see here's this white block that indicates the layer mask. Okay, what I'm going to do next is get my paintbrush. I'm going to use a large paintbrush with a nice hard edge, and you can see here's your different paintbrushes. Hard edge is the one with the nice defined edge, while the softer ones, the soft brush, has a fuzzier edge. So I'm going to double click that, get a nice big paintbrush. And what I like doing first is with the black, what we're going to do is hide that top layer. And it's not hiding quite everything because my opacity up at the top is set too low. I'm going to set this all the way up. So I'm going to start scrubbing with black as my foreground color. And again, make sure you're on your layer mask right here, not this part. You can see the little frame now around this box, but right here on this white section now you can see the little mask is framed. And with my black paintbrush, I'm going to just go and start hiding those pixels that are surrounding Angelina's eyes. Mainly her facial features, such as I'm going to start masking the cheeks and all the other information in the picture other than just her nose, her mouth, and her eyes. And you'll see why in a minute. I need to see that information to help me guide where that image is going to go. Okay, so I'm almost there. I like just hiding all that. And you can see here in my layers palette, the information I'm hiding is now in black. Can't see that anymore. Okay, it's just been hidden. Move this back. So I'm going to get my Move tool and do a Control T or Command T on the Mac. Oh, and also before I do that, I'm going to adjust. I went ahead and hit Enter to get rid of the free transform. I'm going to come to my opacity of that layer. Make sure the Angelina layer is selected. I'm going to drag that down. And you can see now I can see both her eyes. I lowered the opacity so they became transparent, and I can see his eyes as well. Now I'm going to do a Control T. I'm going to move these into place, try to match them up as best as I can. If you can't see the bottom handle, go ahead and go down. You can see there's the lips. Those are starting to match up pretty good. And the eyes. And I noticed that it's got a little tilt to it, so I'm going to need to tilt this. I'm going to go to the outer edge and kind of move that over. It's looking pretty good. Just going to match these up. Lips need to be matched up a little bit. That's pretty close. So you can see there's the eyes. They're matched up. It's a little bit blurry, and if you need to, you can go ahead and hit Enter and then adjust the opacity and bring it back up. So you can see that's actually matching up pretty close. Okay, so I'm going to select that layer mask again, this little section over here in the layers palette. I'm going to go back and get my paintbrush tool. Make sure black's your foreground color, and erase all the information, or just paint over and mask that information out that you don't want. So this is looking pretty good. You can already see how we're starting to meld the features together. And what's so great about this is you can see that the very clearly where I've started to erase the pixels on her face. So it's very clear what is her skin and what is his. So what we're going to do is we're going to paint back some of his skin. And how we do this is we just come switch the foreground and background color right over here using this little toggle to white. I'm going to come up to I think I'll adjust the flow first. And I want a fuzzy brush for this. So I'm going to select a fuzzy brush. A softer brush is the correct term for that. And there is a shortcut key to adjust the fuzziness of a brush, and that's shift bracket key. So your shift left bracket key, if you'll notice right up here, if I hold down the shift right bracket key, it makes it a hard brush. Shift left bracket key, it makes it a softer brush. And you can see I'm kind of painting her skin tones back in, so the skin blends a little easier. And I adjusted the flow because it acts more of an airbrush. And so the longer you hold down your paintbrush, it works like the button on a spray can. So I'm just going to come in here and paint some of her tones back in. And then what I'll do is I'm going to flip this and kind of erase those areas that I don't to make those blend in a little bit better. Again, using a lower opacity or a lower flow level. So not as much of her skin is being hidden. And the longer, again, I hold that brush, the better it's going to blend in. So you can see I'm blending in those tones. That's actually looking pretty good. Erase some of that out. There we go. That's looking good. So her eyes are blending in nicely now with his. Get rid of some of those pixels. And you can see it's getting harder and harder to tell that there are two pictures superimposed on each other. And if you do this correctly, you can come out with some really good results. So again, if I switch back to the white, I can paint back more of her skin. And if I need to raise the flow level a little bit, I can. And that will put back in some of her skin tones. You can see there I just covered up some of his skin there. And maybe lower the flow level just a little bit more. Paint some of her skin back in. And so you can really work at this to where it just looks fantastic. So I'm going to flip this again. So I went over and flipped black to my foreground color. I'm going to adjust this pretty far down just to get a little bit more, just to blend the two together. So you can see there's a great result. Let's go to my layers palette so you can see what I've done. I'm going to click the eyeball there. Brad Pitt, and of course the two of them mingled together. Kind of scary, isn't it? But very easy to do, all using a layer mask and flipping between the foreground, the black foreground and white foreground color. Main thing to remember on this technique is to make sure the layer is selected, or the layer mask is selected over here in the layers palette, this white box here. So remember, you paint in black and you disguise or you delete or hide the pixels on the top layer, while as if you paint in white, you're revealing those pixels again. So very good effect. And again, you can work inside the hair. You can even merge the two hairstyles together and just get a really cool effect. And you can see here, I've just blended those two people together. So I don't know, quite possibly if Angelina and Brad Pitt had a kid and he grew up, I don't know, maybe he'd look like this, maybe he wouldn't. But cool effect, fun to play around with. And I hope you have fun doing that. Take some practice, take some time, but I think you can do it. So again, this is Scott with tutorialstop.com.